The sun shimmered over the glass walls of Falcon Enterprises as the company prepared for its grand charity event. The rooftop buzzed with chatter, laughter, and flashing cameras. At the center stood her, the CEO, a woman known for her precision, her perfection, and her power. Dressed in an elegant navy suit, she watched the new charity helicopter gleam in the sunlight, its blades motionless but ready. She smiled confidently at her board members. "We'll auction this flight for a good cause. Unless," she said, with a playful smirk, "someone here wants to impress me and fly it right now." The crowd chuckled. Then, from the far end came the soft scrape of a mop bucket. The janitor, mid-40s, humble posture, wearing a faded gray uniform, had paused his cleaning to look at the helicopter. His eyes lingered on it longer than most, she noticed. "What's wrong, Sam? Never seen a helicopter up close," she teased lightly. The man smiled, a calm, almost nostalgic smile. "I've seen a few," he said softly, returning to his work. Her assistant whispered, "He's harmless. Been with maintenance for years. Quiet guy." But something in his tone lingered with her. Later, as guests mingled and the sky turned amber, she caught him again. Standing near the helicopter, hand resting gently on its frame like an old friend. Curiosity got the best of her. "You seem fond of it," she said. He looked up. "It's a good model," he replied simply. That was all it took for her playful arrogance to rise. "All right then," she laughed, gesturing toward the cockpit. "If you can fly this helicopter, I'll marry you myself." The crowd burst into laughter. Phones came out, recording. Even the pilot smirked. The janitor didn't laugh. He just looked at her, calm and quiet. "You sure about that?" he asked. The teasing grin stayed on her lips. Completely. Without another word, he stepped forward. Everyone watched as he climbed into the pilot's seat, his movements smooth, practiced. Like muscle memory awakening after years of silence, the murmurs grew louder. The company's actual pilot moved closer, frowning. Then came the unmistakable whir of the engine. The blades began to spin, slowly at first, then faster, slicing the golden air. Within moments, the helicopter lifted off. The janitor guided it gracefully, hovering above the rooftop with flawless control. Gasps filled the air. The CEO's smile froze. For 10 breathtaking minutes, he maneuvered the machine through perfect loops and smooth turns before landing it softly back where he started. The crowd erupted in applause. The CEO was speechless. How do you even know how to do that?" she finally stammered. He unbuckled the straps, climbed out, and said quietly, "Used to fly rescue missions. Before I lost my family. Needed something simpler after that." The rooftop fell silent. Cameras lowered. Even the wind seemed to pause. The CEO felt something twist deep inside her chest. Humility, respect, maybe even guilt. The man she'd mocked had once saved lives from the skies. The janitor she'd overlooked had more strength than anyone in that glittering crowd. She didn't know what to say, so she just whispered, "You never said." He smiled gently. "You never asked." The helicopter's engine ticked softly as it cooled, the sound mingling with the hush that had settled over everyone. Somewhere in that silence, something inside her changed. And for the first time in her career, the CEO didn't feel powerful. She just felt human. She stood there for a long moment, the wind tugging at her hair as the sun sank behind the city skyline. The man, once invisible to everyone around him, just smiled and picked up his mop again. "Wet," she said softly. He stopped. The tone in her voice was different this time. Not commanding, not mocking, just human. She walked up to him, eyes glistening. "You could have taken that moment to show off. To humiliate me in front of everyone, but you didn't. Why?" He looked down at his hands, rough and scarred. "Because kindness isn't about proving someone wrong," he said gently. "It's about reminding them what's right." His words hit her harder than any lecture or headline ever could. The next morning, the company's intranet buzzed with a surprising announcement. The CEO had launched a new internal program called Second Wings, a project to support employees who'd once left their dreams behind, helping them rebuild their careers, their confidence, or simply their lives. When asked why, she only said, "Sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who teach us how to soar." Weeks later, the janitor stood beside her again. This time not with a mop, but with a flight instructor badge clipped to his chest. She'd arranged for him to train young people who couldn't afford pilot school, using the same helicopter that had once been part of her joke. As he guided a nervous teenager into the cockpit for the first time, he glanced back at her. She smiled proudly, nodding in quiet gratitude. The blades began to turn once more, rising toward the sky, not just lifting a helicopter, but lifting hearts, hopes, and second chances. And somewhere between the clouds and the city below, two unlikely souls, one humbled, one healed, proved that kindness doesn't just change others. It changes everything.